What is up, FPG fam? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about what I believe, from my subjective opinion, is going to be Ayato's top 5 best weapons that you can place on him when he officially releases in game. Now, there are a few disclaimers that I do want to talk about. First and foremost, this is once again just my subjective opinion, so if you do have a different one, let me know in the comments down below. I want to get you guys engaged on this topic. Let me know what you think his top 5 best weapon will be that you can place on him when he's in the game. Secondly, he's still in beta, right? So things are subject to change, and this list can get switched or altered when he officially releases, or if we get some updated information, if his kit changes like it did recently, this can change the order or could change what type of weapons might be good on him, because it could exclude one because there was a certain change that was made, or another weapon could actually get better and his stock rise because of the change of his kit. So with those disclaimers out the way, and with that all said, let's go ahead and get into it. If you do enjoy this video though, really quickly, make sure you drop a like. It helps out way more than you even know. And if you're new to the channel, or you've been watching all the videos, you just haven't done it yet for whatever reason, it's okay. You still have the opportunity. Go ahead and sub, join the FPG family. We would love to have you stick around. With that being said, let's go ahead into my list of what I believe will be the top 5 best weapons that you can place on your Ayato. Alright, so coming in at number 5, this may surprise some people, but I'm going with the Sacrificial Sword. Now, everybody knows what the Sacrificial Sword does at this point in time, but just in case you're new to the game, it does have a substat of energy recharge, and then the passive, after damaging an opponent with an elemental skill, the skill has an 80% chance to end its own cooldown, and this can only occur once every 16 seconds at R5. Now, I do have to mention that it does need to be at R5, which I think most people have if you've been playing the game for a little bit. But I believe the Sacrificial Sword is going to be a sneaky good option, in my opinion, of course, because the elemental skill for Ayato is just so amazing in terms of its utility and what it's doing. And I believe that's where a lot of his damage is going to be, is within the elemental skill. So the fact that you can essentially have 2 charges or reduce the cooldown to be able to do it once again after you just got done doing it, I think is going to lead to some interesting damage output that you might be able to have, or some interesting rotations that you might be able to do. I think the utility is going to be really nice, but I have to preface it by stating that I need to use this in game and see how practical it actually is. But this is of course just theory crafting and speculating, and once again just my opinion. I think the Sacrificial Sword is going to be really nice on him, but we'll have to wait and see. Not to mention the substat of the energy recharge might be nice, because the energy cost for Ayato is a bit on the higher side. I would say it's kind of in line norm, but a little bit on the higher side. And if you don't have a battery that can really provide energy back, he may be running into some issues there, so the energy recharge might be nice. But anyways, this is number 5, Sacrificial Sword at R5. I think is a sneaky good option. Let's move to number 4. Alright, and in the number 4 spot for me is going to be the Black Sword. Now once again, I believe the Black Sword at R5 is going to be necessary for this weapon to be in the number 4 spot. Now as you can see, I only have it at R3, so it's a bit unfortunate. I understand most people won't have it at R5, especially if you're new to the game, but if you do have it at R5, I think this is going to be a really good weapon to put on your Ayato, especially if you don't have the next 3 that we're going to talk about that's above this one. But the Black Sword, the reason being is because you have the substat of the crit rate, which is going to be nice to balance out that ratio so you can focus on crit damage, because his Ascension is crit damage. And then if you take a look at the passive, increases damage dealt by normal and charge attacks by 30%. And then additionally regenerates 80% of attack as HP when normal and charge attacks score a crit hit. Now this is fantastic because obviously with Ayato, you're going to be doing normal and charge attacks. That's where you're going to be doing the damage. And then getting some HP back just provides a little more utility, a little more sustainability. I think this is going to be a nice weapon, alternative option to place on him. Once again, if you have this on R5, I think it's a solid spot for one of the top 5 best weapons you can place on him. And it's going to be a nice choice, right? Not the best, but not the worst. I think it's going to be a good one to place on him. Let's go ahead and move over to what I believe is the number 3. So now we're going to be in the top. All right, now we are in the top 3, and in the number 3 spot, this was very difficult for me, but I think in the number 3 spot is a weapon that I actually don't have on my account, which I'm actually a little upset about that because I would love to have this weapon because of how good it is, and that is the Mistsplitter Reforged. I think this is one of the better one-handed swords that you can have in the game of Genshin Impact, and once again, I'm upset that I don't have it. I think I tried to pull for it, but I got unlucky. But obviously, this is the one that is applicable for Ayaka. You see a lot of Ayaka mains using this weapon, and rightfully so. It's absolutely fantastic, and I think it's going to be really good on Ayato as well. You have the substat of crit damage, so you couple that with his Ascension, and it's going to be through the roof. You won't have to focus on crit damage really anymore, except a little bit on the substats. You can then focus on crit rate as the main stat for your Ayato, and then if you take a look at the passive, it's a bit of a paragraph. Gain a 12% elemental damage bonus for all elements and receive the might of the Mistsplitter emblem at stacks levels 1, 2, and 3. The Mistsplitter's emblem provides an 8, 16, and 28% elemental damage bonus for the character's elemental type. The character will obtain 1 stack of Mistsplitter's emblem in each of the following scenarios. Normal attack deals elemental damage, which lasts 5 seconds. Casting elemental burst lasts 10 seconds. Energy is less than 100%. Stack disappears when energy is full. Each stack duration is calculated independently. Basically, no matter what you do with Ayato, you're going to be doing damage. And I think this is going to pair really well with his elemental skill, his elemental burst. It's going to be good in team comps. This weapon is going to be fantastic on him. I think it's going to work out really well, and that's why I put it in my top 3. Once again, it was very difficult between this one and the number 2. I almost had this one in the number 2 spot, but let's go ahead and talk about number 2 at this time. All right, now in the number 2 spot, we have the Primordial Jade Cutter. Now, this may not be a surprise to anyone, or it may be because you might have thought this would be in the number 1 spot, but the Primordial Jade Cutter is in the number 2 spot for me. Now, with that being said, when we talk about number 1, we'll go more into detail about what I believe could shift this between 1 and 2, but we'll get to that here in just a second. The Primordial Jade Cutter, everybody knows if you've been playing the game, is one of the better weapons that you can have in the game of Genshin Impact. It's universal, meaning that you can place this on any one-handed sword user and they benefit from it. If not, it becomes their best in slot. It's an absolutely fantastic weapon, and the reason being is because you have the substat of crit rate, which pairs very well with Ayato. We spoke about that before because of his Ascension being crit damage, so that is extremely nice right there. And as you can see, I was fortunate to get 2. Haven't refined it yet because it may go on my Ayato if I don't get his best in slot. I digress. The passive HP increase by 20% additionally provides an attack bonus based on 1.2% of the wielder's max HP. This is so applicable for Ayato specifically. It almost could be his best in slot, and the reason being is because some of what Ayato does within his kit is centered or based around HP or scales off of HP, and that is extremely valuable with this weapon because it caters to that, right, with the HP increase by 20% and then the attack bonus based on that. So this is just extremely applicable. This almost becomes best in slot for him, and it's just a very nice weapon to have. Now, I know I'm going to get the question of, should I go for this weapon for Ayato in the weapon banner that we have right now, which actually has the Primordial Jade Cutter? And my answer is no. And the reason being is because if you get the Kagura's Verity and you're not wanting to get the Kagura's Verity, you're going to be upset, right? And you're going to be wasting Primos and Intertwined Fates, your precious resources or premium currency, trying to go for this weapon just because you want it for Ayato, and you get the Kagura's Verity, and now you're kind of stuck, right? If you don't mind getting the Kagura's Verity, then it may be worth, trying to roll and see, and if you get the Kagura's Verity, then you're okay, and you can still go for the Primordial Jade Cutter at some other point in time, but I don't think it's worth going for specifically for Ayato if you're not okay with getting Yae Miko's weapon, especially if you don't have Yae Miko. So I know I was going to get that question, just wanted to address that, but yes, the Primordial Jade Cutter is the number 2 one for me. And we can just go right into number 1, which is, of course, his best in slot. Now, with that being said, there are some disclaimers that I do have to quickly mention when it comes to the best in slot. And the reason being is because Ayato's kit just recently changed, and that could change the best in slot for him. One thing I'm waiting for is to see if the best in slot passive for him gets changed because of the changes that were made to Ayato. Let me explain. Ayato had a mechanic within his kit that decreased the cooldown of his elemental skill if his allies were normal attacking. Well, they took that mechanic out, but that mechanic was a part of his base in slot weapon, and it still is. I haven't seen any changes to that as of this recording. So because of that reason, I'm not sure if the best in slot is indeed best in slot, or the Primordial Jade Cutter would be, or if they're going to update the passive on his best in slot weapon and change it to something different since they removed that mechanic. I have to wait and see, but for right now, just playing it on the safe side, I'm still going to say the best in slot is the way to go, is the number one. I will probably update this once we get some more information and let you guys know if it still is indeed. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, this is just a quick video of my top 5 best weapons that I believe will be great for Ayato. Let me know yours in the comments down below. I'm sure some of you will agree, some of you will disagree, and I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Anyways, I'm going to get on ahead of here. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you like what you saw. Remember to stand out, be different, have fun, go further beyond in everything that you do, literally everything that you do. My name is Cody. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.